All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Jill Lublin. Jill, welcome. So awesome to have you on the show today.
Thank you. It's good to be with you too.
Yeah, I have been looking forward to this, especially after our last conversation. And so we're just going to dig right in. I'll start off with a simple question to get us rolling. What do you do, Jill, and who do you serve?
Thank you. So, I am a publicity specialist who
Okay.
helps entrepreneurs, small business owners, consultants, coaches, people in the business space, and I've actually worked with big companies too, to actually create messages that work and to reach more people out in the public eye using publicity as a primary marketing strategy. And
Okay.
this is based on my one of my books, Guerrilla Publicity. I've written four.
All right.
And then I run kindness circles every month. We have a 1 hour, super fun and highly interactive on Zoom. Everything I do is on Zoom to make it easy for everybody. And we actually network and be with each other in kindness. So great things are happening there too.
Awesome. How did you get into doing this kind of work? What's your backstory, Jill?
Well, like everybody, I got a story, and
Yeah.
I was in law school trying to get through it, which is not an easy thing, just saying. And in my first year, I actually started in the music business because I thought, well, at least that's fun to me. And I actually ended up with some pretty big name circles,
Okay.
meaning with a major promote rock and roll promoter of people like Huey Lewis and the News and Santana. And I actually loved that much more and started my career really in publicity
Okay.
from that, starting in the music business, because here's what I learned. Success is really about perception, interestingly enough. And in the music business, if you want to learn about perception, that's the place. So I loved it, and I dropped out of law school and started really in the music business. And my career
Okay.
really launched from that into having my own book, actually books with the guerrilla publicity, the profit of kindness, and more,
Okay.
and launched my own public relations agency, and then started as a consultant. So it's been this wonderful ladder
Yeah.
of great opportunities.
Yeah. So what inspires you most about the work that you get to do and the impact you're making?
Well, I love people being able to spread their work. It gives me joy, like to watch people, whether they consider themselves introverts. Oh, I don't know how to do this. Great. I can work with them, whether they're highly successful companies. I mean, I've worked with Phillips Corporation, big real
Okay.
estate companies, car.com, some other big players. And that can be sometimes a matter of right messaging and putting together the right puzzle to get visibility and credibility and publicity. Because the truth is, without publicity, not much happens.
That's
That's
right.
what I've learned in all these years.
Without public, if we don't get the word out, we're going to be the best kept secret that nobody knows about.
Yeah. And you know what, Kevin, I always say, don't go bragging to me about that because that is not something to brag about. You do not
No.
want to be the best kept secret, even if you're a one person, quiet introvert doing, accounting, whatever it is, right? The point is, people still need to know who you are, that you're available, and what you do. And that makes a world of difference.
Yeah, yeah. So let's dig deeper into this. What is the result? And you don't have to name names here. You can if you want, totally your call, but what's the result, or even more than one result if you want to share, that you've helped a client get that you're just incredibly proud of, Jill?
Well, there's a couple.
I would imagine so.
So for instance, one of the women who wrote a self-published book, she's a consultant and following my system. And I believe in systems. Like every business, my world of publicity has systems. And she followed my system, and guess what happened? She sold 45 books in a 15-minute podcast. Now, I don't know about you, but there's not many places you can do that. That's the power of publicity.
Yeah, yeah.
Or my other gentleman who owns a mortgage company and had a third career. Also made AARP. He never thought about using his age and the fact that he was in a third career. That's a very interesting story. It's a very now story. Most people are in their second and third, once you reach a certain age, uh, opportunities, right? And new possibilities. So AARP has a very big publication. In fact, one of the most well-read in the United States,
Okay.
and he got in that. So that was another one, and one other one that I just love to share is my consultant Ryan, who, by the way, when he came to me, said, "Jill, I just know I have to work with you because I'm starting a new business." He had just been fired from his corporate job. Well, downsized, they called it. And,
Okay.
he started a new business as a CEO and of an instructional design company. And truthfully, Kevin, when he came to me, I had no idea what he was talking about. I'm going, I just don't even know what you do. I said, but if I don't know what you do, how can anyone else know what you
Yeah.
do? And
Yeah.
so we recreated a message and remade up his story and actually used, I like to call it everything he's got, and didn't even talk much about instructional design. Do you know he ended up on the cover of multiple business journals? He ended up in Entrepreneur Magazine. He ended up in USA Today. He ended up in the front page of Mac Home Journal. And it goes on and on and on. Actually, for 9 months, building his consulting company, and let me just say, he has a lot of customers now, and that all came from publicity.
Wow. Wow. Those are some absolutely amazing examples right there. Well, okay, so now that we've got some context set here and people have a little bit of understanding of who you are and what you're all about, I want to switch gears just a little bit. And so I want to start talking about the relationship side of this. So, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons who completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And I'm just really excited to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
Yeah, well, relationships are everything. And it's funny. I think I sometimes even take them a bit for granted in my well, frankly, my ability to match people until one day this woman, and this is a great relationship, who she asked me to speak at her conference. I've known her 40 years, she reminded me. I forgot about that. And on top of that, so obviously there's trust built. Obviously, long relationships, many, many years, by the way, when we never spoke. It wasn't like we spoke all the time. But one of the things she looked at me and she said, you are such a good connector. You really ought to teach about that. And I'm like, I'm cooking that up because that might be something that really talked about that I didn't even realize that I do, and it's very natural. So one of the things is about being in long relationships. I mean, frankly, one of the people who's supported me and been really by my side is Mark LeBlanc, his name is. He
Okay.
actually was my coach for, oh gosh, probably 12 years. He's the founder, not the founder, the president. He was the president of National Speakers Association. He's
Oh,
actually featured
okay.
in one of my books, The Prophet of Kindness. Yes, and Mark not only has helped me refine my programs like the Media Mastery Intensive, he helped me refine who I really wanted to reach and frankly let go of some things. He was the one guy who said to me, you always need that person who's going to say things like this. Like I go, I got 4 books I want to do and this and that. And he goes, well, what's the first one? And then I want you to do, and he gave me like, how to segment it.
Mhm.
Well, probably all of my books may not have happened. He is really smart about how to create a really workable business, but also, frankly, a workable lifestyle, like what's important to me. And so that made a huge difference for me. And also, a gentleman named Les Hewitt, who wrote a book called The Power of Focus. And in fact, you look it up, you'll find Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, and Les Hewitt. And just so y'all know, when there's 3 names on a book, it's usually the last person who actually wrote it. And Les taught me things like have something to look forward to. He taught me that, there were seven places to look in our business. So it isn't just about obviously profitability, but what do you want? What's lifestyle and what's your spiritual life like? And just all the elements of, frankly, what's important in life, because business is life, let's face it. And as far as I'm concerned, I better be enjoying every day and the people I meet on Zoom and in podcasts and on the summits I do and stages I speak on and the clients I work with. Like, they need to all be wonderful, but not, well, you know what I'm saying, right? As wonderful as possible.
Yeah.
And so he really taught me a few things, but one thing I always do remember is have things to look forward to. That's powerful.
Yeah.
And his system, and he has, of course, everybody has a good system, and it's called The Power of Focus. Great book, by the way. And in fact, I often will pick a book to read in January that defines my year. And I love people like his books that just really set up a framework to follow for the year.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, so what is an example of a situation where you personally, Jill, got to make this really substantial impact and maybe even in the moment, maybe it surprised you a little bit, but yet you also know that would have never been possible if not for the relationship you had with either one of the people that you're talking about here. What's an example of a situation where you were empowered that way?
Mm. Well, one of the things I think I learned from, let's say, Mark, Mark talks about having a call a day. He
Okay.
said, listen, just make one call a day. That's going to make a difference for your business. He actually called it something and has a whole name for this. And so I started putting that on the calendar, and getting into the habit of it. And by the way, I'm not scared to make a call, but,
Uh-huh.
like everybody, like where is it in my calendar? And I think that's been a really big thing in my life. Like Les taught me, where are the things in my calendar, the things to look forward to, the parts about all the aspects of my life. And every month, for instance, I choose something, for instance, spiritually that will lift me up and feed me, because guess what? I'm feeding a lot of people, if you know what I'm saying, right? I'm giving and I need to also be filled up and to
Yeah.
receive.
Yeah.
So I always make sure, like, where am I getting filled up? And for
Yeah.
me, it's, making sure I have fun in my life and making sure I have, relationship and dates with my husband and then my friends, that they're in my life and that the things I love to do, like watch sunsets, I love that. Where is that in my life? Where is it on my calendar? Where is travel? That kind of good stuff. So
Yeah.
I will look. I remember Mark Victor Hansen taught me about, he said, every quarter I take 3 nights, 2 nights, something with my wife or myself, he said, and I just go somewhere and we relax. I'm like, oh, what a concept, So I am looking like every 3 months. Okay, make sure I'm away, doing something renewal. And for me, it's nature or somewhere in the ocean, somewhere out by the ocean. And then I love that, and whatever it is for anybody, the point is, how are you being fueled back up?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
writing a book about kindness, let me just tell you, I had to really reflect, where am I kind to myself?
Yeah.
What am I doing to be kind to myself so that I can be kind to others?
That's
Where's
right.
the self-care?
You bet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because I
I'll
mean,
tell you,
we
we
can't
can't
give
give
from
from an
an
empty
empty
cup.
cup. So
That's right.
yeah, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Well, for anybody that might be listening to this and thinking to themselves, man, I really appreciate Jill and some of the stuff that she's sharing and just the way she shows up. Uh, if they want to get more information about the work that you're doing, any websites, any resources we can share with folks, Jill?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. One thing is, check out my publicity challenge. It's super fun. It's get it done. It's no nonsense. And it really will open the world of publicity for you and make it possible. And I think that that's important that people understand that it's simple and possible. And it's jilllublin.com/start.
Okay.
And then I'd love to invite you to my kindness circles. Let's connect in kindness. We actually do this once a month on Zoom. Everything I do is on Zoom. And we will network in kindness. We will help each other in kindness. We'll spend 1 hour together, and I promise you're going to feel better when you leave, because that's what everybody tells me. And
Yep.
plus, have new relationships and just really be expanded. So that's every month, and it's jilllublin.com/kindness circles.
Okay. Very good. Jill, is there any last thing that you feel led to share before we call it a wrap?
Well, a couple things. I believe so strongly that everybody has a message in them.
Hmm.
And what I know about the power of publicity is the opportunity for your impact and influence to be felt and seen by having your word out there. That's really important. And sometimes I think that people forget that. So I want to just remind you about that, that your message matters. And I'll leave you with Abraham Lincoln's quote, and that is, whatever you are, be a good one.
I love that. Whatever you are, be a good one. That's perfect. So, well, Jill, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you, and I'm excited to get this out there and share it with folks. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.